Well, hello guys, welcome back to my channel. And today I will be demonstrating how to actually use the seam guide to stitch curved areas of your garment or probably your fabric. I did one video earlier on, you can check on my page on how to use the seam guide for straight seams only. Actually, the seam guide is just made for straight stitches, but we can use a few tricks while stitching curves. So you can check my previous video on how to use the seam guide to stitch straight seams. So today I'm just going to be doing curves, but for the benefit of those who might not have seen that video anyways, I'm gonna make one straight stitch and then we do the curve stitch. So you can see I have a fabric here which I have which is cut in a curve, and we are going to use some few tricks and the seam guide to stitch this. Let's see how it goes. So for the straight stitch, I mentioned that it depends on your seam allowance. Over here, the seam allowance I'm going to use is 1/4, which, let me make this a bit bigger, which is already on my machine. You can see that. So I'm just going to use 1/4. So however wide your seam allowance is supposed to be, that is how you adjust your seam guide. So I'm adjusting my seam guide to 1/4 of the seam, and like I mentioned, I'm going to demonstrate just the straight stitch simply, and then we move to the curved seam. So as we can see, all you gotta do is make sure your fabric is right against your seam guide, and that isn't going to move, and you're going to get your straight stitches through. So you can see my my straight stitch. I'm using a black thread. I just hope you can see. Yeah. Now let's use these few tricks like I mentioned for our curved seam. Let's see how it goes. So first of all, place your fabric. You raise your press foot, then you place your fabric very close to your seam guide, and this applies to the seam, your seam allowance as well. Over here I'm going to use 1/4, and I'm just going to place my seam guide close to the fabric seam line. Let's okay, I just hope you can see this right. So just make sure that the first end of your seam is very close to your seam guide. Actually, you can see the side of your seam guide is curved. The other side of your seam guide is a bit slanted. So whilst you stitch, your curve is going to be lying on that part of your seam guide, and then it will direct the stitches to your curved line, and then we can get a very correct and perfect stitches on the curve. So let's go. So the other trick is just make sure that your fabric is against the seam guide. Okay, so once your fabric is against the seam guide, you can do this, and you can see how it's going smoothly for curves, right? Those who commented on my first video on how to use the seam guide to stitch straight line, this is how you go about curvy areas. If you're not so good with stitching curvy areas and you want to use the seam guide, then this is how it's gonna go. And voila, we have our curved seam. You can see that clearly. You can see that. Let me turn it this way, maybe to be clearer. Yep. Yes, so we can see that. You see? We can see that our curve is perfect and our stitches are perfect and straight, just the way we want it to be. Yes, so you can try this at home. Those who commented, you can try this at home. So this is how you can use the seam guide in a tricky way to stitch all your curved seams. I hope this video helps, and subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so you can have access to new videos whenever I post. Okay, so see ya in the next video coming up soon. Thank you, bye, and have a very bright day wherever you are watching from.